fires affecting a lot more people than the fires themselves. And we do have a whole lot of them over the last 7 days, looking at the locations of our fires across parts of Washington, Oregon, into the state of Idaho, also sections of the West. Montana has also been dealing with fires. And so the plumes of smoke engulfing other communities, many people across the West, at least noting, the hazier sky because of those fires. High pressure is anchored over the Southwest, so the overall pattern has been the same. We're not getting any change, and we're keeping those temperatures very warm, and we're keeping the overall wind direction similar because of the flow around that high pressure. As this area of high pressure late week shifts a little bit west and really starts to strengthen, we've got that extreme heat coming back to parts of the Pacific Northwest. So once again, we're looking at temperatures well into the triple digits for sections of the West. We already have, those extreme heat warnings in effect for some, but even parts of the northwestern U.S., those states like Washington and Oregon, will start to see those temperatures bumping back up. Winds also increase, and unfortunately, we know that hot temperatures and gustier winds is a terrible combination when it comes to fire conditions. Makes things very ripe, not just for fires to start, but if they start to spread very quickly, get out of control very quickly. So that's going to be a concern here late week. Obviously, the fires that we've got, they could continue to be problematic with those gustier winds, but any additional fires that were to get started could explode, take off very, very rapidly. Over the next 10 days, no rain expected here across the Northwest. So Idaho, Washington, Oregon, into western sections of Montana, no wet weather expected. So no rain to help us out with these fires. And there's the smoke emission. As we look towards the second half of the week, we're keeping things unhealthy. And this isn't just unhealthy for sensitive groups. It's flat out unhealthy into parts of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, even a little bit of Utah and Nevada. Outside of that, unhealthy for sensitive groups in that navy blue. You can see that extends all the way into portions of Colorado and Wyoming. So that smoke, and significant smoke, extends well away from where the fires are. As much as you can, you want to limit time spent outside, especially if you're vulnerable, even if you're not. We've heard from Jordan. He said, you can really smell it. Your throat starts to get dry and irritated. So I'd limit time outside if smoke's a presence in your area. If you're spending time outside, working outside, use a respirator. And while you're driving, have the AC recirculate that air rather than drawing in that smoky outdoor air. And if you want to help support the disaster city forecast, starting with what's currently happening, some big rain in between Fort Myers and the I-95 corridor on the eastern part of the state, and then up into north and central parts of Florida, at least some scattered downpours just in time for the evening hours. Any after work activities you were looking forward to? Maybe you have that stack of hamburgers in the fridge you were hoping to go out and grill. Maybe not the night for it, although the 95 corridor is fairly clear. You can see a lot of the activity, the action is focused farther inland, and that's where it stays, continuing to move off towards the north and west. Now, tomorrow morning, waking up to a few showers, that could slow you down for the morning drive, and we'll keep that going around lunchtime and into the afternoon. So West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, all dodging hit or miss or scattered showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. We'll do it again, honestly, on Thursday, keeping the forecast pretty similar each and every day. Tampa, you've got upper 80s for your high temperatures, afternoon showers and thunderstorms Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we'll do it again on Saturday. So beach plans, vacation plans, or just living there plans, you'll be dodging and ducking for cover here from time to time. Your day. Late day commute, windshield wipers are working in a few spots. Des Moines, you're starting to see the rain head closer your way. We've got some areas, again, of at least moderate rain moving through. Same story for areas to the east and to the south of Omaha, Nebraska. Tonight, back into Kansas, some scattered light rain there as well. Here's a closer look. Again, areas along I-80 have been in it with the rain, and we're going to be watching that stretch of interstate west of Des Moines, seeing that rain head closer and closer to the city, eventually crossing over I-35 to Creston. You've begun to see some of that light rain falling in the area. Not a ton of available energy today, so while we don't expect much in the way of severe weather, can't rule out a severe storm, but I think these are going to be more garden variety thunderstorms, if anything, and just some moderate downpours across the area. So I think this will be a more manageable day. Tomorrow, we bump up the risk a little bit when it comes to severe weather. I think gusty, damaging winds will be something we got to watch for out of our storms. So So we continue to watch areas along eastern parts of Iowa, western Illinois through the late evening. Now, overnight, get a little bit more activity firing into sections of Nebraska, sections of Iowa. So some of the similar areas that are getting the showers and rumbles of thunder now will get more into the overnight hours. So don't think this is it, although I do like to hope that most folks are sleeping, not out on the roads while this is moving through. Same can't be said at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. we've got showers, some heavier downpours, thunderstorms around Milwaukee, but especially here along the Iowa-Illinois state line. Northern parts of Missouri could be a real messy morning commute for you guys. So we'll watch I-35, we'll watch I-80. Some of those interstates could be slow. And of course, your local roadways will be slow as well. Through tomorrow morning, flash flooding is a possibility, looking at parts of eastern Nebraska, a good chunk of Iowa, right along the Missouri state line. These would be areas with a little better risk of seeing flash flooding. So where I think we'll see some more flash flood warnings. Outside of that, at least an isolated risk. That would include places like Sheboygan and Milwaukee, all the way up along the lake shore. Severe thunderstorms tomorrow, I mentioned. It's just a slight uptick in chances. We're not looking at a severe outbreak day, but I do think we'll see the chance of a few hit or miss severe storms across sections of Missouri and Illinois especially. And the cold front, it continues to move south. We, of course, still have the moisture. We've got those things today, but what we'll also be watching for tomorrow is some stronger winds aloft. That upper jet stream is going to help to add lift, so promoting a little bit more in the way of development of stronger thunderstorms, also enhances your downpour. So in addition to an isolated severe risk, we will be watching for the risk of some flash flooding. Here is lunchtime on Wednesday. Things already going, and we'll continue to see that activity sliding east through the afternoon and evening. Mike?
You know, and folks in Illinois going, here we go again.
Of the West. So many communities at least dealing with the hazy skies and the smell of smoke in the air. Now, in Spokane, what we know right now is we've got 3 active wildfires, now called a complex. So when you've got these clusters of fires, they oftentimes refer to these as a complex of fires. They continue near Spokane. It's a level 3 go now evacuation alert that remains in effect for parts of the area. So for many folks, it was go and move quickly as this fire exploded over the weekend. 700 plus structures have now been burned, with the complex still around 0% containment. Fire crews have been working tirelessly and heroically, but it has been very, very difficult to contain these fires. And unfortunately, the weather not going to offer up much help here moving forward. We've got more opportunities for significant fire development given more heat, more wind coming back, and it's still dry, staying dry as well. Last 24 hours, you can see a lot of our smoke emission has been focused here in the Pacific Northwest, Washington, Oregon, also into the state of Idaho. But we've seen that smoke drifting off towards the south and east and into places like Colorado. We showed you Denver at the start of the show with the hazier skies there. So even well away from where these fires are actively burning, you are seeing the effects of the fires. Air quality forecast today has been unhealthy. And this isn't unhealthy for, folks with asthma or respiratory issues. It's unhealthy for everybody. So the unhealthy for sensitive groups gets into Seattle. So you could see that hazy sky there. But when we're talking about Yakima and eastern sections of Washington over towards Pullman and Spokane, this is unhealthy air quality for everybody. So this is going to be detrimental to your health, whether or not you have respiratory issues. We've seen it in Spokane hovering over the last 2 days in that unhealthy to even very unhealthy air quality. We've seen the pictures, from the airport, blue sky maybe overhead, but not too far away, that dense plume of smoke. Now we look at tomorrow's forecast, you can expect more of the same, unhealthy, even very unhealthy air quality across sections of Washington, but the unhealthy air quality for Washington, Oregon, also into Idaho, northern sections of Nevada and Utah. And we're seeing that smoke still into parts of the Rockies, Colorado, Midwest, noticing a little bit more in the way of vibrancy to your sunrises and sunsets as you've got that upper level smoke. So, a lot of areas, maybe not seeing the flames, but seeing the effects Here's your smoke emission near surface hanging out there across parts of Washington, especially near and north of the Spokane area, Mike.
All right, Alex, thank you for that. We know
The before and after images every time we have a fire are stunning and heartbreaking, and this one no exception. Here you're looking at the before image. You can see a really tightly packed neighborhood, and we've talked about how these neighborhoods where homes are very close together can be even more dangerous when it comes to fires, because you get the embers, moving from one home that's on fire onto the roof of another, and that one goes up. So the before and the after here image showing that some of these homes still smoldering, still actively on fire. The plumes of smoke, of course, obscuring some of those neighborhood streets. A closer look here. You can see the cul-de-sac where I assume the children of these families played. Some of the cars parked on the street, another cul-de-sac, all the trees in the area as well. When we look at the after image, again, some homes completely burned, some still on fire. My weather producer Dalton and I were looking at this. He thinks this is, and makes sense, fire retardant. So here you can see some of the homes okay, where that stretch of color looks like we were right on the fire line, and they dropped some of that to stop the fire from spreading into the other homes. Here again, a look at the before and after, a bustling, a vibrant community on one day, and then the next day, of course, dealing with missing homes. Here the footprint of all of those homes and just the charred outlines really of those homes. Yet again, a stretch it looks like where fire retardant was dropped. And so these homes, okay, obviously the homes on the other side, but in terms of, or in cases when you get these really, really tightly packed neighborhoods, they're relying on the air support to really create those fire lines, those fire breaks, because everything's so close together. They're just spreading so quickly. Another before and after here, again, looking at some of the homes on this street, and the after image showing some of the smoke and, again, fires actively burning in these homes. So a lot of families, unfortunately, waking up with very little, if not anything, today.
Dramatically changing times of the Atlantic hurricane season, when we go from a lot less busy than to what is probably the most concentrated period of activity on any part of the world's hurricane season.
Yeah, and it's one thing to look at that, but as the kids say, you come with receipts. You've actually run the numbers to look at these landfalling systems.
Yeah, and early August is very different from late August, and we'll talk about what the middle of August is like too. But I went and looked back to 1990 to kind of cover this active era that we've had over the last few decades. And there have been 17 hurricane landfalls in the U.S. in the month of August. But the difference between the early and middle part of the month and the late part of the month is dramatic. Now, we have had early August hurricane landfalls, including just a couple of years ago, tomorrow, we had Hurricane Debbie make landfall in.
Which is a lot of times what we have to watch for. We talked just a few weeks ago about how waters are really ripe as we get into September out in the tropical Atlantic. Then we look at mid-month. That one also had some notables, especially Charley.
Yeah, isn't it notable, though, how there's only two in the last 35 years to make landfall in the middle of August, but they've been really bad. Charley and Bob were terrible, and Charley was one of the early in August, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because when I think of August hurricanes, I think of the last 10 days of the month.
Yeah, and it's amazing now when you show the last few days of the month how things ramp up in terms of systems that have made landfall in the U.S. We go from the two of the mid-month period now to some notables and a lot more.
And one of those 11 hurricanes was Idalia just 3 years ago in the Northeast Gulf. But what is really amazing when you look at how August has ended is there, out of those 11 landfalls in the last 10 days of August, 7 of them have happened on 2 calendar dates. 3 happened on August the 27th, the most recent being Laura in 2020. East Louisiana has been hit on August the 29th almost every 8 or 9 years over the last few decades.
Yeah, Katrina, Isaac, Ida, all making landfall in that one day. So that's a day we note a lot of significant storm anniversaries. And then there's Gaston back from 2004.
Yeah, so if you're thinking late August is when we've had a lot of big bad hurricanes, you're right. Now, could that happen this year? Let me explain why it's at least Possible. No development expected on the Atlantic side during the next week. And starting a week from now, the Central Pacific is the focus of activity. And then the week of August 19th, the activity goes a little farther east because favorable conditions moving toward the Atlantic. Could it be after August 25th, those favorable conditions move to the Gulf and Atlantic side? Could you have something form on our doorstep? I'm not going to rule the end of August out.
Well, clearly it's happened before. And as you've said, these patterns become cyclical. And as things get more favorable in other spots, less in others.
It happened in 2023.